today, my wonderful guest on the Visions podcast is Daði Freyr. Everyone give Daði Freyr a warm welcome in the imaginary studio.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Daði, thank you so much for joining us. You and we met each other about 1.5 years ago because I came to Iceland to do a show called Song Trip, where you and I got to travel through Iceland. And that's the first time I was in Iceland, and I came to your concert. I stood in the very first row and cheered you on, and that's where we met.
That's the first time I saw you. It was
Yeah.
First row at the concert.
I was just the biggest fan. It wasn't staged at all. The cameramen didn't say no.
It's not like the producer asked you to stand right there in the middle with a light and a camera on you.
Yes. After the show, the cameras came into your backstage and then just ask you and me, like, and do you like each other? Did you guys have fun?
I see the visions on the screen, but they only play for me.
Daði and I obviously met in Iceland, but Daði is a musician, he's an artist, a graphic designer. Basically, you're all in one, Daði. I've only ever met you as the person who produces, you sing, you do all the visuals, you do your music videos, you do the tour visuals. You are insanely talented. And so thank you so much for joining this podcast.
Thank you.
I'd love to ask you about your visions for your project, of like when it started and especially for like the last album and the last tour. You just finished a European tour. What inspires you the most to create the visions that you create?
I think I wanted to be like work in a creative field since I was a kid. I thought I was gonna be a like visual artist. My dream was to make the like Donald Duck comics.
Oh my God!
That was, like,
yeah.
Carl Parks and Don Rosa were my heroes. So I really wanted to just do that as my job. So I thought I was gonna be working at Disney, and then I downloaded Fruity Loops at like 13 or something, which is FL Studio today, and then got GarageBand when I was 14, 15, and then I just started recording, and that was more fun to me.
Okay.
And I don't really know what my vision with my art is. I just I want to make something that's fun to make and something that's fun to hear.
Yeah.
And watch.
Yeah.
I wanna have fun. That's basically it.
Yeah, I think it's as simple as that with your art and your music, isn't it? It's very much like you want people to have a good time. You notice that in your concerts as well, that you just, even if it's printing out pictures of your face 1,000 times and making the audience wear it, you just want people to feel good and be silly and watch your visuals and have a laugh, which is why I think I love.
Yeah, I want people to walk out of the after the show and just think that was a good time.
And it was. I was in your show in London and I had the best time.
Awesome.
I love getting to, even those moments where like you're clapping along or you get to watch the funny visuals and just be included within the show. I think that's what makes your show so special, is that you just feel like you're part of it. So yeah, I really appreciated that as a viewer.
Thanks. Yeah, that's my favorite thing, I think, about doing a show is kind of like I'm the one that has a microphone. Everybody has to listen to whatever I have to say, and if I can kind of dictate what people are thinking to a certain extent, and the closer the connection, the easier that is to do.
Yeah. Looking back at your history of being an artist, can you remember the first time you had a vision for what you envisioned your artistry to look like?
Not really. I think it was kind of just a natural progression. Like when I decided that I wanted to be a musician, I thought I was going to be like a bass player in a System of a Down-esque like band.
Yeah.
And the first music I was making, I was trying to be serious, which now that I listen to it back, it's not very. Like I had a band called Retrobot, and we would sing like we were like 19 something, and we would sing about like drugs, sex, and alcohol, and then we wouldn't live that like at all. It was just words that we thought were cool to say, and we had an attitude on stage that didn't really match our like actual energy. And I feel like at this point I've just kind of my art is a lot more like true to who I am as a person today,
Yeah.
and not like more who I actually am rather than like something I'm trying to be.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So just more authentic, I guess, because it's you
I think so.
you're talking about. Yeah.
That's what I try to do. Like, but you can only be so authentic with, or at least for me, like I don't want to share every part of my life, and sometimes I'm like I'm oversharing maybe when I'm just talking to whoever is listening, like people I don't know.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about not just your songs, but your ideas behind like not just the visuals, but the outfits. I was kind of doing a deep dive in your outfits, whether it's the faces on the shirts or, you know, just the one colored suits that you wear or like the track suit. What's your kind of vision behind that?
In my life, I don't really think about what I wear so much, and I think a lot of that comes from me. I'm 208 centimeters tall, which means that if I go into a clothing store, they're not gonna have anything that fits me.
Yeah.
So I have a weird relationship with clothes in general. Like now, I like this sweater. I've worn that
Yeah.
a lot, and that's almost there's not a lot of clothes that I have that are not from like this one specific Norwegian company. It's called Medium Tall, that just makes clothes for tall guys. When I'm touring, sometimes like my bandmates or whoever I'm touring with, they're gonna like want to go into all these like vintage shops and stuff like that, and I'll go in there and I'll know that there's maybe like 2 pieces of clothing that would fit me at all. So if I don't like those 2 pieces of clothing, then
Yeah.
there's nothing in there. So I'm not very fun when it comes to clothes.
That's
I feel like I
okay.
would be if I wasn't a mountain of a man.
One of your most successful songs was actually written about your firstborn, was it, or your secondborn?
Yeah, firstborn.
Firstborn. What do you think about things? And I remember when you told me that story, I had like tears in my eyes because I'd never heard of someone writing such a cute story for their child, especially wondering to themselves, like, oh, what do you actually think about life? Like, you're so small and tiny, and how have your visions changed since, you know, you've had a family, you've now settled in Iceland? Like, how has that impacted your whole creative process?
Like I spend a lot of time with my family, and I want to keep it that way. I'm really dedicated to that. So it has impacted a lot how I like, at least the lyrical content of my songs have started to revolve a lot around that, because that's like the life that I'm living
Yeah.
right now. I used to sing more about non-father things,
Yeah.
and now there's a lot of songs about my wife and my kids that
Yeah.
are being written, because that's what I'm mostly thinking about. And that's I like that. I like it a lot. But I also have the best kids and the best wife in the world, so I can't speak for everybody.
You guys do look very cute together from the pictures you've sent
I
me.
know.
Well, I'm so glad that that it feels like you're not losing anything in it. I think I don't know how it is for other people. I know how it is for myself, where I often worry that if I, start a family, that it's going to change everything about songwriting. It's going to change my perspective. It's going to change, even how I divide my time. I think as any kind of artist, you have something and you cling on to it, and you're so worried about change sometimes. And for me, like, I just always wondered to myself, if I had a child, what would my life then look like as a songwriter? Could I still have that same freedom? Would I be able to still write about other things that are not, revolving around the child? Because it's, as you say, it's like, it's really nice to just write about what's happening in your life, because
Yeah.
it's inspiring and it's also authentic. But what about if that's something that's so private that you're like, oh, I don't really know if I want to share that with people?
Yeah. For me, it's like I mostly write about like my experience with it. I don't really write about them maybe specifically. It's more like what's going on with me, because that's like happening in my life. But like having kids, if unless you like are half-assing it, like you're gonna lose some parts of your like life.
Yeah.
That's just part of it. But to me, it's like what you get in return. It's so much.
It's worth it.
Yeah, to me, it's I have a very clear purpose in my life right now. Like I know what I'm doing, like what I'm supposed to be doing, and why I'm doing it, which I'm not sure I did before.
But that's so interesting, because you're saying basically with having your family, it's almost as if you had a clear vision of what that would mean for you later on. Like you knew this was your purpose almost. A big part of what this podcast talks about is understanding the struggles that different, whether it's an artist or an entrepreneur, different people go through when they have this vision, but seeing it through to the end. And I wanted to kind of find out from your side what you felt have been the biggest struggles to see something through to the end. Like, what is something that you don't think everyone sees, but you see maybe on a daily basis when creating things?
I'm somebody that usually would want to make something and have it out immediately. Like that's how I think that's the reason why I even finished any songs or an album for that matter, is that I could release it right away. I just I would export it out of Ableton, and it's already on YouTube, so I'm already starting to I started doing that like 14, 15 years old, so I've always had that like end product kind of mentality, I guess, when I make music. And then I have a lot of musical friends that struggle with finishing songs, have a bunch of demos but haven't finished a song in years. And I think that's why I actually go through with finishing them. And my biggest thing I think is allowing other people to kind of also have a word, have a say. Like I tend to try to do everything by myself, and if I'm having help, it's gonna be usually my wife.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I've done a lot of spending time alone in front of a computer, either editing something or drawing something up or producing. So that's I think something that I'm still kind of working on is opening up to other people.
Yeah.
And it's the same with a new album that I just finished. I'm opening up to a lot more collaborations on that. There's one song that I wrote by myself. There's no like a collaborating artist on any of the songs, but it's like I'm writing all the songs with somebody else, which is a new thing for me because the last album I released, there was nobody.
Yeah.
It was only me. But I'm a lot more happy with this new album, so I think it's a good thing.
Would you say that's like a very difficult struggle to let go and let people in and help you discover that vision? Because I understand as an artist, you kind of want to have the control over everything sometimes, and you want it to be a certain way, and it's very difficult to explain it to others, so you just block it out and say, you know what, I'm going to focus on it. Would you say that's been a big struggle then this time around, or would you say it's actually been really easy to have other people influence it?
I think that with songwriting, it's easier, I think, with somebody else. Like I wrote some songs by myself also that was supposed to maybe be on the album, but only one of them made it through, and it's a 12-track album, so 11 of the songs are written with like in the studio with somebody else.
Yeah.
So I think it's different when it comes to like producing the thing or like finishing something up. I'm always like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
My manager all the time has to be like, dude, you're not doing that. We're getting somebody to do that. No, I'll and then in the end I'll be like, okay, maybe I don't have time to do that. We'll get somebody else.
Yeah. There's a song that's the very last song on the album called Treasure Island. And I think it was kind of inspired by the simplicity of Iceland. And I don't know if you'd agree with me, but I think sometimes we get so caught up in our minds of what we're missing in life, like the grass is always greener and what our life could be if this happened. But in Iceland, I really felt like I had found this place that was just so beautiful the way it was, so simple. You know, there's not like a million different restaurants. There's like the food that you get. You go to a hotel restaurant and there's two soups. There's like a lamb soup and then there's a vegetable soup. And
that's countryside Iceland. It's not the same in Reykjavik.
But I really appreciated just that feeling of realizing how delicate life can be and how sometimes it's not the more isn't better. It's just what I have is so special and can be so fleeting that I have to, grab onto that and make sure that doesn't float away and be aware of how special that is. And I guess my question to you is, living on an island for so long, how has that impacted you as a person and also you as a musician?
I moved here when I was 9 from Denmark, and we used to live like basically in Copenhagen, like the capital of Denmark, and moved straight to the countryside. There was like 100 people, 100 kids in my school, and they were all like farmers' kids. So they all like lived kind of far from the school. My mom was a teacher, so we lived pretty close to the school, but everybody else was at least a car ride away, which means a lot of time to myself. Mm-hmm. And also the winter is dark and cold, so that means a lot of time spent inside. And I feel like that's a big part of why I work in the way that I do, like why I spend so much time alone in the studio, because I'm used to, as a kid, I would just be alone in my room and draw or do something like that.
Yeah. The
small island mentality, there's a lot of good things about that. Like we, for the most part, stick together like a lot. I feel like that was very evident when there was a volcano in a town called Grindavik, that like they had to evacuate the whole town, and I feel like the rest of Iceland kind of like it felt like it was happening to all of us. So everybody just kind of opened up their arms to the people of Grindavik.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I saw it. But there's also a lot of competition. People are um, competing on like who has the best life, who has the nicest car, who has the whole Itala
Yeah.
collection and all the Moomin. Like a lot of people have this, like they're in this race for the quality of life and how other people see their quality of life. So that's there's downsides as well.
Yeah.
Also, nobody dislikes Iceland. Like we haven't really done anything to anybody. So if you tell people from outside of Iceland, yeah, I'm from Iceland, it's always like, wow, exciting. I've never met somebody from Iceland. But it's,
Yeah. I need to figure out, can I be by myself for a long period of time? Because as you mentioned, you know, like when you're creating stuff, isolation is a big part of it. And it's also a big part of this album, the feeling of, you know, when you create something, creating a vision, creating music, it just feels so lonely sometimes because you're the only one that can see what's happening. You're the only one steering the ship. You're the only
Yeah.
one who kind of gets it. And everyone else is kind of, you know, they'll give their opinion and they'll help you along their way. But at the end of the day, you're the salesman selling this product that you've created. And yeah, and I'd say for me, over the years, I've learned that it's been quite lonely. I've enjoyed working with people, and I think that's what makes music special, is sharing that. But like, especially for you, I mean, you said yourself, you're kind of in your studio. How do you deal with that loneliness sometimes?
I meet friends outside of work. I spend a lot of time actually like with my family and like my bigger family. Both me and my wife have like our like extended families are very close,
Oh, that's so good.
and we make a big effort to meet with people all the time. I would go. I feel like I'm very like somewhere in the middle of introverted and extroverted. Like sometimes I love being by myself, but if I spend too much time by myself, I start being weird. Like when my wife and kids come back from work and school, like sometimes I'm like I have to trap myself down because I'll just be singing something, or like I don't know. I've been alone by myself, talking to myself all day, and
Yeah.
when they're there, I want to just. My wife is like, I just came back from work, and I'm like, no, you have to.
Yeah.
Entertain
And I'm sure
me.
she has people at work that she talks to, right?
Yeah,
She's not
she's
alone.
around people all day.
Yeah.
And then she comes home and wants to just decompress, and then I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, hello. Hey.
Here's everything that happened today in my head, but now I get to share it with you.
Yeah, not a lot happened in real life, but so many things happened in my head.
Yeah. I can see it from my Oma. I spent my New Year's celebration, the days leading up to it, and New Year's with my Oma. And she lives on her own as well. She's 91. And man, yeah, it's almost like she has a friend, an imaginary, invisible friend living with her because of all the conversations she has out loud with this invisible person. Has that already started happening with you, that you're, you know?
I talk to myself out loud so
lot.
much.
Okay.
Like all day.
Yeah. What do you say to yourself or to this imaginary person?
Just talking about what I'm doing and what I should be doing, and
Do you think that's
just
the
if I'm
first
thinking
step
about
to
something, then I'll just
craziness?
think it out loud.
Or do you think
Maybe.
is that the first step to like insanity?
I heard that insanity is when you do the same thing again and again and expect different results.
Okay.
So I don't think I'm going insane. I think I'm doing this to actually keep my sanity. Probably. I think it's.
It's a coping
I think
mechanism.
it's probably better. It makes me feel like there's that I'm keeping myself company in a way.
Yeah.
If I would just be alone in silence, I couldn't do that. Also, if I'm doing something, I need to have some audio. Like I have to be listening to music.
Yeah.
Then I'll have always something. So I'm never in silence.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's good because I feel very similarly as well when I'm alone. I'll put the radio on, I'll put the TV on. But sometimes I wonder if it's actually really good and important to just, survive that silence, to just,
Probably. I just never do it.
Okay. I just want to say thank you so much for joining this podcast, Daði, and talking to us about your creative process, your visions for what you do, whether it's your visuals and your music. It's been such a pleasure seeing you again. I hope I see you again very soon.
And I hope the same.